But Jesus can mess things up. Next story here, and I'm going to finish up with this. He goes across to the other side. He runs into a guy named Jairus. Jairus. I always say his name Jairus, but I think it's Jairus. Yeah, he runs into this guy. And this guy is the president of his synagogue. They elected this man to be the guy who makes all the decisions in the synagogue. And he has a daughter that's dying. Now, I'm going to tell you what. If my daughter was dying, I would be the same way. I'd be desperate. I had a situation when I was... we were in Madeira, and they had said some things about one of my kids that, it was too bad. I mean, it was sad because they were saying some things that weren't right. And I was pretty desperate. And I told you the story before about a guy who, he was crazy. He was just a crazy preacher. He'd say some of the most absolute insane things when he preached. And I'd look at him and go, man, that's just crazy. Talking about fighting the devil in a closet and he looks like a midget and all this stuff. I mean, crazy stuff, But you know what? I'm not going to... I knew he had a healing ministry. I saw that people got healed. And so I remember one service, I just felt like God, bring him up there. Have him pray for him. And when he prayed for him, he prophesied something that came about. I mean, it's true. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we get caught up on the way the person looks, and we get caught up on a certain thing. With this guy, he said, he's going to be a preacher. And it was true, and he was completely healed of it, the funny thing is that if I would have been caught up on the way the guy looked, and what he said, and the crazy stuff, he had some crazy eyes, too. He had these big eyes. You know how what are those dogs that have... Like Gollum, yeah, he looked like Gollum. He had these big eyes. Those dogs, their eyes look like they're going to pop out of their head? He had these big eyes, and he just say these crazy things, and had this crazy look in his face, and, I remember, and the funny thing is, I would say probably 90% of the stuff he said, I always kind of just said, he's crazy. But God used him, and he legitimately healed people. I saw him pray for someone that was legitimately healed that had cerebral palsy. Totally legitimately healed. And people try to say, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to you. Yeah, it does. And he told this guy off, which blew my mind. He told this guy, he said, if you're healed, nobody's going to treat you like they're treating you now. They're not going to, look out for you like they are. He goes, do you want to be healed? And I was thinking, man, that is mean. Why are you going to tell some poor cerebral palsy kid in a wheelchair, do you want to be healed? But it was true, and he got healed, But it's amazing. I'm not saying that works for everybody. I'm not saying that's what everybody's supposed to do. That's what that guy was supposed to do at that time. If we listen to God, like I said, it's so much easier to make a religion. Let's get some oil and start spraying, rubbing it on everybody, and we'll get everybody healed that way. That's why, you see these guys on TV, I'll send you some oil. That's all it's going to take. Just put this oil on you, everything's going to be fine. That's easy. Some prayer cloth. Prayer cloths are totally in the Bible, but that, if you send some money to me, we'll send you this prayer cloth, everything's going to be fine. No, only God tells you. It doesn't work. That's why it's so much harder living as a Christian who walks with God and follows God. Because it's so much harder to do it God's way. So he runs into Jairus. And Jairus basically, he's desperate. And he comes to Jesus. Even though the funny thing is, his religion said Jesus was wrong. And the funny thing about this is Jesus just left. He probably still stinks like dead people, He just was hanging out in a graveyard with some nasty smelling guy, gave him a bunch of clothes. This guy, come on. Probably gave him a hug before he left, Back in the Bible it says, greet one another the holy kiss. You might even kiss the guy. Who knows, And he's coming up here, and everything in Jairus' mind tells him, there's no way I should be going to this man. But here he was, falling down at Jesus' feet, begging him to come and save his daughter. Come and do something about my daughter. That took a lot. That took a lot. And I said this before, there were 3 times in this chapter where you see Jesus touching things he shouldn't have, And he told him to go pray for his daughter. You find out during the story, and I'm going to go a little further in here, during the story, his daughter dies. She's dead. All the people come and say, don't bother Jesus anymore. He's dead. She's dead. Let Jesus go. She's already dead. It wasn't right for a rabbi to touch a dead thing. Here you go. Jesus doing something he shouldn't have again. Totally doing something he shouldn't have. Shouldn't have touched something that he should, and there he is. He's going after it. And I was thinking about this today. And I don't mean to go on a side trail here, but I was thinking about this. There's a scripture in the Bible. It talks about denying yourself and taking up your cross and following Jesus. And it says this. It says, if you love your father or mother more than me, you're not worthy of me. And if you love your son and daughter more than me, you're not worthy of me. And anyone who's not willing to take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. And I started thinking, that's kind of a crazy scripture. In Luke, it actually says you must hate. Compared to your love for me, you must hate father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, compared to me. I was thinking, wow, that's a crazy thought. That's an amazing thought. Because what was he saying? What was Jesus really saying when he said that? Was he saying that you need to be willing to just walk away from your family to follow and serve him? Jesus' will is not for family to be broken down. God has always dealt with the family. So if you feel like God's told you to leave your wife and go marry someone else, then you're not hearing from God. I can tell you, that ain't God. God deals with the family. God deals with the family the way it is, and he's always been that way. And if you feel that God's telling you to go take another wife, that's also not God. Might want to move your needs off. But what's he saying here? Jairus was willing to sacrifice everything, including his spot as the president of the synagogue, including his pride that he had as being that leader in town, and including his reputation, because he's bowing down at the feet of this false prophet, Jesus. That's what they thought he was. He was willing to give it up. And that's why Jesus said, if you're not willing to give it all up to do what I'm asking you to do, you're not worthy of me. That's what he's saying. But you know what's amazing? Jesus doesn't end it there. He says everyone who did this will receive 100 times as much in this life. Jesus doesn't just say give something up. He says, I want you to put me first so that you can have the right relationship with it, so that when you follow me and do it my way, you'll get 100 times as much as you would have had anyways. 100 times as much. That's an amazing thought. What did Jairus get? Jairus lost his pride, but he gained his daughter. I'll tell you what, I'd give up all the pride in the world to get my daughter back if she was dying. You think about that. If this person had to give up everything, had to be willing to lose everything. The other guy, he didn't have anything to lose, but he had to do something. The guy that was demon-possessed had to go back and tell people about it. But Jairus had to be willing to give up everything. Give up everything. And you know what's amazing? When Jesus healed his daughter, what did he say to him? He said, don't tell anybody. Isn't that weird? Think about that for a second. Look at that. It's right down here. And I'm skipping ahead because I'll be preaching for another hour. I promise you. I've got so much stuff here. The very end of the chapter, he says this. He gave strict orders that no one should say anything about this. You go, what? You just told the guy who was demon-possessed, totally delivered, to go back and tell everyone. But then you tell Jairus to shut up, don't say anything. What? And what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. God had done something in this man's life that was amazing. That was amazing. But he had a way and a will and a purpose and a plan for it. It's sad because sometimes if we don't listen to God and we just do things our way, we end up messing things up. Even if we think it's absolutely 100% spiritually right. Oh, I need to do this because this will make me spiritual. I need to say this or say that. Oh, I just need to go in here and do this thing because I know it's what I'm supposed to do as a Christian. And we mess things up. There's a story I heard. Actually, it was Kenneth Copeland who was preaching about this. He said there was a woman that he had prayed for that was healed of cancer in the hospital. Totally healed of cancer. And God spoke to him and said, you tell that woman not to say a word to anyone. Said, you tell her just to thank me for it and just be quiet. And he said that to the woman. He said, I want you, this is what God told me. He goes, I know this is going to sound different, but God said to not tell anybody about this. Just thank him for it. Everything's going to work out. Let the miracle speak for itself. And what ended up happening was she ended up, starting to tell people about it. She's like, I'm healed of this, I got healed of this cancer, and all the people that were around her started talking her out of it. Oh no, and they started thinking she was crazy, brought her back to the doctor. Doctor started saying she still had it. Next thing you know, she stopped believing it. Why? Because she did what God told her not to talk about it. I always think about that with the story of the wall of Jericho, when all the children of Israel came out and they were coming to the promised land, and God told them to shut up, walk around this building for 7 times, I'll take care of the rest.